Detroit, a city that was once a booming metropolis that is now struggling to keep the hope for the city alive. Like many Rust Belt cities, they are facing the issues of decaying infrastructure, which is in turn leading to a decaying city. It is time to ask ourselves, how can we help fix this? Urban Theory Lab's research starts from the proposition that inherited frameworks of urban knowledge and decides that these frameworks must be radically reinvented to illuminate emergent forms of 21st century urbanization. Their research aims to investigate the historical geographies of the capitalist urban industrial fabric in ways that supersede inherited meta-geographical binarisms while opening up new sociological, cartographic, and political perspectives on the contemporary global urban condition. The work combines conceptual and representational experimentation, theory-driven research, and research-based pedagogy.
A visual narrative of major meta-geographical visions of the city, the urban, and the world that animate contemporary discussions of world urbanization. While it is widely asserted that urbanization has today become a global process, this claim has been grounded upon quite a wide range of spatial conceptions of the city and the urban, of the territorial organization of urbanization, and of the world, the earth, the globe, and the planet.
In the 21st century, few trends have matched the economic, environmental, and societal impact of rapid urbanization. A steady stream of human migration out of the countryside and into swelling metropolitan centers has shaken up the world's power dynamic in just decades. In 2009, the world's urban population surpassed the portion of people living in rural areas.
Heavy metal machinery background found in Detroit led to the growth of the automobile industry. Leading up to the 1920s, Detroit had become fully industrialized. From the 1920s to the 1940s, the population of Detroit started to grow rapidly. Anyone that wanted to be involved in the car industry was coming to the city. It is estimated that 1,000 African Americans were moving to Detroit each month. Because of this, racial tensions were high. After 1940, the African American population would go on to double from 150,000 people to about 300,000 people. This high tension eventually reached a tipping point that resulted in riots across the city of Detroit. The Detroit Race Riot of 1943 was deeply rooted in racism, poor living conditions, and unequal access to goods and services. Policies made to construct highways in 1944 actually drew more people away from the city rather than bring them in. When people began leaving, so did the automotive plants. The thought was, why have plants in crowded urban environments when you could have them closer to the suburbs? This also meant they were closer to their workers and had easier access to highways. In 1950, the Detroit population saw its peak at about 1.5 million people. Ever since then, it has steadily declined. Masses of the white population left the city and moved out into the suburbs. This was referred to as white flight. This also added to the encouragement of automotive plants moving to the suburbs. The 1967 Detroit riot was a large-scale race riot that only accelerated the decline of population in the city. Around the 1970s and onward, crime in Detroit rose because of the economic turmoil due to abandonment of businesses and lack of jobs. By the year 2013, Detroit files for bankruptcy and is $20 million in debt.
Tell me about the housing situation here.
The housing is bad. It's a lot of slumlords. Like, it's too many.
I feel bad. I want to go. I've been here 66 years, and I want to go.
You ready to leave?
Yeah, because I'm tired of looking at this mess.
Why should we care? Because someone that has lived in the city for 66 years feels that it has nothing else to offer her. She feels that there is no longer any hope left for her. Unemployment has swept through the town like a grass fire. The automobile industry almost completely collapsed. Buildings lay abandoned. House prices have crumbled, and residents are leaving the city at an alarming rate. The people of Detroit need a new city to help them create better lives for themselves. The city should be a place where people want to be. Shouldn't we be able to avoid something like this happening again in the future? Based on the research conducted by Urban Theory Lab, a city needs to be a sustainable economic machine as well as a sustainable social machine. This led us to 5 points of revitalization. To positively impact cities across the globe, the following characteristics can be examined and applied. First, we can explore new methods and means for energy production that will help decrease fossil fuel consumption and lower our carbon footprint. Carbon footprint reduction can happen while constructing new built forms, by selecting environmentally friendly materials, and choosing systems that continue to lower carbon footprints. The enhancement of urban green is our second technique. This means we should be preserving the city's existing landscape and not replacing all of its green space with high-rises. We should be conscious of the balance between open and built space, all while updating and enhancing the parks and green spaces. Our third technique is aimed towards establishing new developments. New urban developments are positive and often supported when they bring new life into neglected cities. Whether they are a new park, an apartment block, or a commercial high-rise, the development should be sustainable and respond to the community's wants and needs, such as housing that is suited to the income of the residents, or their certain desires for commercial properties. It is vital to maintain identity and character. Revitalization will be sensible to the city's existing architectural style and character. For this to be achieved, new developments and developers must be cautious of gentrification that may force current residents to flee. The fifth technique focuses on replacing and restoring current outdated infrastructure, such as water lines, sewer lines, streets, pathways, and deteriorating structures. This will help mitigate environmental harm in the long run. 3 audiences are involved in these methods: humans, businesses, and the government. When these methods are applied, the 3 audiences collectively benefit and impact one another. An example of our methodology is the neighborhood of Jefferson Chalmers in Detroit, which is undergoing vital changes that are necessary to the lives and longevity of its community. Jefferson East is the organization that is spearheading all of the developments that are happening throughout the neighborhood. They have found ways to work with local contractors, take into account the locals' needs, and provide sustainable, long-lasting solutions.
We're able to make sure that the growth is a part of the community and doesn't just happen to the community. Let's look at the example of how we got Norma G's bill. Les Segovia came into our office and said, I want to open a restaurant. He's now employing 18 people that are all from the Jefferson Chalmers neighborhood. On top of that, we found 12 out of 15 contractors, all from the local neighborhood, to work on that building.
We use Detroit as an example to understand these topics for ourselves. In theory, our ideologies could be applied to any city to examine where an urbanized world breaks down.